Hello. Doing another live stream today for my Ukrainian Christmas spider cookie. I did one 2 days ago for La Befana, Italy's Christmas witch. So leading up to Christmas, I'm going to decorate one whenever I get the chance as a live stream, and then I'll record it and save it to my feed. So if you guys ever get these cookie cutters, you can follow along with a free tutorial that I'll have saved to my feed. The other ones that I have coming up. So I did Krampus last year, and he's on my feed. I did La Befana from Italy the other day. So the whole hour and a half live stream is recorded and on my feed. Today I'm going to do Ukrainian Christmas spider. And then I have the Yule cat from Iceland and Kagatiao, the pooping log from Catalonia, Spain. So I'm just going to get started. And this is what the cookie cutter and stamp looks for this cookie cutter. So there's the cutter and then the stamp. So you just stamp my design right into the dough and baked it. And that's how it turned out. And this is just like my gingerbread recipe. So now I'm just going to go ahead and decorate it. And again, I'll save this live stream to my feed so it can be referenced for as long as my Instagram exists. And if you're wondering what this spider on a snowflake is, so this is the Ukrainian Christmas spider, and it is a Christmas Tinsel Origin Story from Ukrainian folklore. So as the story goes, a poor widow and her children lived in a small hut, and they were excited at the prospect of having a Christmas tree after a pine cone falls on their earthen floor. However, Christmas Eve comes, and they could not afford to decorate the tree. So the kids were, extremely disappointed. They went to bed very sadly on Christmas Eve, knowing that their Christmas tree would be bare on Christmas morning. But the spiders in the hut heard the children sobbing, so they spent the night spinning elaborate webs over the branches of the tree. So on Christmas morning, when the children woke up and the sunlight touched the tree, the delicate webs turned into shimmering spun gold and silver strands right before the children's eyes. So in the Ukraine, finding a spider in your Christmas tree is a sign of good luck. And Christmas trees can also be decorated with artificial spiderwebs or spiderweb and spider decorations made from wire and beads. I grew up with a Christmas ornament that was like a silver and gold spiderweb with this little gold jewel spider in the middle of it, and I always just thought it was a very pretty but kind of spooky ornament for the Christmas tree. But I didn't actually realize that it actually had a little folklore story behind it. So that's the story. So I just am starting this cookie by outlining it all in blue. And then I'm going to go over all of these impression lines before flooding it all. I'm actually going to do a much thicker white tip here, just so that I don't lose these lines when I flood the background, but I will go over them again and add more detail. Of course, if you guys have any questions at any point as I work my way through this, I think I'll probably be live here for like the next hour to an hour and a half as I fully decorate this cookie. Just let me know. Oops. Someone just asked about, well, they didn't ask, they just said I need small bags. I'm thinking maybe you're referring to these piping bags. If you are, I get mine from Sugar Love Baking Supplies. She's on Instagram, also her website, sugarlovebakingSupplies.com. These are the best bags. I've been using them for years. So I've just started this cookie by using my piping royal icing, just kind of not like super delicately, just a little bit rough, to outline all of these impressions from the stamp, just so that I don't lose them when I flood the background color. And then I'm going to go over the lines again with a little more precision and care, and add in all the details. And this is what the cookie looks like in the end. I made this one last year when I first designed this cookie cutter and stamp set. So that's what it will look like. And I'll do this all in the next hour or so. And this one I coated in epoxy resin and added some magnets on the back. So it's just been on my basement fridge for the last year. All right, so now I'm going to flood the whole background around all the white snowflake detail. But if it sort of like goes over the snowflake, that's totally fine, because again, I'm gonna go back over the snowflake with a little more precision. piece of fluff got stuck. There we go. All right, so made my way around that outer layer. I'm gonna do this little inner area here. And if you're just tuning in, sort of gave a little spiel about this cookie before. So this cookie cutter is from my collection of lesser known Christmas characters. And this is the Ukrainian Christmas spider. So the Ukrainian Christmas spider, this is a Christmas folklore from the Ukraine, of course. And so as the story goes, this is like a sort of an origin story for Christmas tinsel that you would see on your Christmas tree. So as the story goes, a very poor widow and her children lived in a little hut. And they were excited at the prospect of having a Christmas tree for the first time when a pine cone took root on their earthen floor. However, they were extremely disappointed when they couldn't afford to decorate the Christmas tree come Christmas time. So the children went to bed on Christmas Eve, crying and were very sad. And the spiders that lived in the hut heard their sobs and during the night wove elaborate spiderwebs all over their Christmas tree. so that on Christmas morning when the children woke up and the sunlight hit their Christmas tree, the spiderwebs all sort of illuminated silver and gold like Christmas tinsel. So in the Ukraine, if you find a spider or spiderweb on your Christmas tree, it's a sign of good luck. And you can find, like in certain stores, you can find Christmas ornaments that are in the shape of spiderwebs, and they're usually like with little beaded gold and silver spiders and glitter on it. They're really pretty. So if you have one of those or you've seen them before, that is sort of where that ornament comes from. So for this cookie, I made a gingerbread cookie. I used my cookie cutter and stamp to create the impression on the cookie. I did a pretty rough outline so I can just flood and not lose that shape, not lose the sort of design underneath. And I'm gonna go back over it again once I've completed sort of flooding the background blue color. And in the end, it will look like something like this. This is the one I made last year. So that's what it looks like when it's finished. So I'm recreating this one and recording it live, and then I'll save it to my Instagram feed. So if you do buy this cookie cutter and stamp set, you have like a free tutorial to reference for how to decorate it. 'Cause this cookie cutter has been pretty popular this year. All right, now do this last little area in here. And maybe I'll do this little area with a bit of piping icing. Let's see how thick it is, just so it doesn't crater. My piping might be a little bit too thick there. I'll add some flood on top. If you guys have any questions as I decorate this Ukrainian Christmas spider cookie, please let me know. I'll probably be live for the next hour or so as I just work my way through this. All right, background is flooded. So if you're just tuning in now, I'm making a Ukrainian Christmas spider cookie. This is the cookie cutter and stamp that I have available in my online shop. So it's a set, comes like this. You stamp your dough, creates a really beautiful impression. You can totally just leave it plain or decorate it. And I'm fully decorating it and recreating this version of it that I made last year. So from start to finish, I'll be live for like the next hour as I continue adding all the details to this one until it looks pretty much the same, except the blue color is a little different. But yeah, the cookie cutter and stamps available in my online shop, but I don't have a tutorial for it, so I decided I'd go live days leading up to Christmas for my collection of lesser known European Christmas characters. The other day I did this one live, so this is La Befana from Italy. There's a cookie cutter and stamp available for her, Italy's Christmas witch. So in that live, I decorated this whole one and it saved my feed. I've got Cagatiao from Catalonia, Spain, coming up. I'll do him sometime next week. He's the pooping log. You beat him and he defecates gifts. Actual folklore from Spain. Iceland's Yule cat. One of my favorites, an enforcer of good behavior, and Krampus. I've already done Krampus. I did him last year. So you can also find a full saved live stream tutorial on my feed for that one as well. So now I'm just working through this one and I'll save it on my feed so whoever owns this cutter can access this free tutorial if they want to recreate this cookie for themselves. All right, so next I'm going to flood, I think, the body of the spider. I'll really sort of build it up here. I'm just going to use my piping icing to sort of fill it in because I want him to really look 3D. So I'm just going to fill this with some piping icing. And then build him up a bit more. So I'll add like a nice thick outline to his little spider body. I'll add some piping and flood icing to that, really build this layer up. All right, so I'll give that some time to dry, and I'm going to start going over all my snowflake outlines. I'm thinking maybe I want to add this to a new bag so that my line is a little bit thinner. I'm just going to transfer this icing into a new piping bag. I always just cut right up the center. Pop it into a new bag. Squeeze it all out, and there we go. I can cut a brand new tip now, a much finer tip. Let's see, it's a little bit too fine. Okay. So I'm just going to go over these snowflake lines with just some more precision and detail. Add some sort of nice little rounded spires to the end, I guess. And somebody asks, how much is this cookie? Well, I don't sell my cookies. I just have an online shop where I create the cookie cutters and stamps for them, and classes. So the cookie cutter for this, which looks like this. So it's quite large. You can see it compared to the size of my hand. It's large cookie cutter. It comes as a 2-piece. This set is 20 Canadian dollars. So it's about $15 US for the cookie cutter. If you wanted to make this cookie and then sell it at like a Christmas fair or something, I always recommend charging, you sort of work backwards from how long it takes you to make the cookie, and also what you think your skill set and like experience level is valued at, and also take into consideration minimum wage of where you live. So where I live, minimum wage here is about $17 an hour. And if this cookie takes me, I anticipate it to take about an hour. I would recommend you charge at least the minimum wage, so $17 for this cookie. But if you are quite an expert or really well known, you could maybe charge more, but it is also like a very large cookie. So another thing to take into consideration is the number of servings. You buy a whole cake, there are a number of servings involved. Just because this is one cookie, this could easily be a 2 or 3 serving cookie, because it is much larger than your average cookie. So there are other things to consider so that you charge a fair price for your work. And it is sort of more of like a standalone piece as opposed to like, you buy a box of cookies. But yeah, so that's sort of my little bit of advice. And someone asked, can I rewind? I just got on. I don't think you can rewind a live stream, but I am recording this live stream and I'm saving it to my feed. So as soon as it's done, it will be posted to my feed. So you can go back and watch it anytime, to reference this tutorial. But yeah, so I don't think you can rewind it as I'm currently live, but certainly after I end it, I'll save it to my feed. So you can go back and watch it from the start as many times as you'd like. Okay, and I'm going to go over these other details now. And the nice thing about cookie cutters with stamps is you do not need a projector. I love my projector. It certainly makes things easier, faster. But you know, they're expensive and the battery dies. It's just another thing to sort of have to hook up, have a system going for it. So it's also very convenient to just reference like the stamp that you're working directly on the cookie if the design is already impressed right into it. All right, so I think oh no, I'm going to add a few more details. I'm just looking at, so this is what the final cookie will look like when I'm done. I made this one last year. So I'm going to add some more details. By the time this one's done at the end of this live stream, it'll look like this. So I'm just going to add some more sort of like frilly sort of snowflake details onto this little spiderweb snowflake. And again, if anyone has any questions as I'm working through this, just let me know. I will be saving this live stream to my feed, so it will be accessible if anybody ever wants to reference it as like a free tutorial on decorating this cookie, because the cookie cutter and stamp for this design is available in my online shop. And I hate the idea that, oh, I'd sell a cookie cutter and stamp with like no reference on how to decorate it. So I figured I would go live through the holidays and do this as like free tutorials that are accessible from my Instagram, because there's really nothing else in particular that you need. Usually I do classes when there's other sort of assets required, you know, certain supplies, certain templates, or something that doesn't come in a cookie cutter shape. It's just like you print and you use a printable template. But this one's, you know, you really just need the cookie cutter and your chosen colors of flood and piping icing. All right, so I'm going to do the spider's legs next. I'm going to add like a little knee joint in here. I'll plot out these little knee joints first. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and I'll add the rest of the leg around. And this is just a piping icing that I'm just sort of pressure piping to get it like nice and thick, because I think piping on like little skinny spider legs and then trying to flood them just wouldn't work very well and would cause some cratering. And there are 2 more legs to go. Maybe I'll add a couple of the little fangs. There we go. Okay, so there is our Christmas spider all piped and flooded. Oh, actually, I'm going to add a few more details to be like the background. Some little like snowflake dots. I'm getting close to the end of my piping journey here. Let's hope it's sort of crusted over so that I can actually add the painted details. Now, normally I would recommend allowing your cookie to dry for several hours before painting on royal icing, but I'm gonna try and do this entire cookie within this live stream. So I am going to very, very gently paint on this just barely crusted over royal icing, and hope I don't puncture it. Let's have one more here. Okay, so there is how it looks piped and flooded. I could totally leave it like this. It's so pretty. Just the white on blue, and you can tell that that is a spider on like a snowflake spider web. So if you were decorating this cookie, again, if you're just tuning in, this is the cookie cutter and stamp set. It's available at my online shop. That's the cutter, and that's the stamp that comes with it. Creates the design in the dough. I baked it, and then I've just been decorating it live. So now it's fully piped and flooded. And then I'm going to add the painted details. And this is the one I made last year. So I coated it in epoxy resin. That's why it's so shiny. But you can see I added just like sort of some painted watercolor that sort of made the body look like marbly and gold on the legs. And I decided I would record all of these cookies. This year I have like a collection of lesser known Christmas characters from European folklore. So this is La Befana from Italy, the Italian Christmas witch. So this one I decorated the other day, and I did it as a live stream, and then that video is saved on my feed as well. I also have Krampus from Austria, an enforcer of good behavior and sort of Santa's evil counterpart. This one I did last year, so it's also on my feed, a full decorating recorded live stream. Cagatiao, the pooping log from Catalonia, Spain. He is a log decorated with a face and a blanket, and on Christmas Eve, the children beat him with a stick and he defecates gifts. It's an actual story. I didn't make that up. And then the Yule cat from Iceland, another enforcer of good behavior, prowls the countryside in search of bad children. So I'll get to those other ones that I haven't decorated yet, from sometime between now and Christmas on another live stream. Save the live streams to my feed so that if you do ever own these cookie cutters, you can reference sort of like the free decorating tutorials on my Instagram to learn how to decorate them if you don't want to just leave them as like a plain gingerbread cookie. But you totally could leave it as a plain gingerbread cookie because it's so cute with the design just stamped in. And usually if I do that, it's because I'm going for something a little fast. So you could just flood the back with royal icing if you still want the icing sort of flavor, or drizzle white chocolate or dark chocolate on the back of the cookie again for flavor, or even turn it into like a sandwich cookie with like a ganache filling and just have the top undecorated. Lots and lots of options. You can also use these cookie cutters with like clay for ceramics if you wanted to make like a Christmas ornament out of a non-edible material. I have had people do that before, buy my cookie cutters and then like send me pictures, and they've actually used them for ceramics or with salt dough, or you could use them with fondant too. So you could make the cookie and then use this cookie cutter and stamp on a piece of fondant and decorate your cookie with the stamped fondant, and then just like paint it or not. Totally up to you. I don't think this is going to be dry enough to paint on quite yet. The body of the spider. So maybe I'll leave the body of the spider, and I'm going to just jump to some of the black outlines. I did these black outlines on this cookie for like further dimension. So maybe I'll do that on the snowflake part before I jump onto painting the body of the spider. But again, normally if you're decorating a cookie, I always recommend waiting several hours for the icing to dry before attempting to paint it. And I'm just going to add like this little black outline right next to the white, just for like sort of this further dimension and styling. Don't have to do this. Like I said, you could just leave it white on blue and it's really pretty. And again, if you have any questions as I work my way through this, just let me know. Probably be here for another, 45 minutes, half hour, something like that, as I work my way through this entire cookie decorating process. So I'm just adding this little black outline to only one side of each, like white spiderweb line, I guess. Just sort of adds like this false drop shadow kind of appearance, like this stylized way. Someone just asked, what do I enjoy most about my artwork? I mean, this like the actual piping flooding process here, I just find like very therapeutic. And I know people are like, oh, it takes so long just to make one cookie. And luckily I don't sell my cookies, because if I was doing this 100 times, I probably would not be enjoying it as much. But since it's just like a one cookie sort of art project, you know, my kids are napping, it's kind of just like a nice little focus for my brain, whereas usually I am focused on like 1,000 things. So that aspect of it is very nice. And then if I mess up while I'm working on something, I can eat it. That part is also very nice, because I do that quite often. If I have like mess something up, or if I'm just trying something for the first time, it doesn't go as how I planned, like I can just eat the cookie, no big deal. Or I can give it to my husband or give it to my kids. I mean, they don't care. It's not like I've wasted expensive art materials on a project that went awry. Everything that I use is more or less like fairly common, cost-effective grocery ingredients. Obviously there's some specialty supplies like, chef master food colors, but again, it's not like having to go to an art store and spend a ton of money on expensive acrylic paints that, accidentally dry up in the tube, and then you're out all kinds of money. Food color is really easy to activate. If it dries out, you just add a little bit of alcohol to it and it's good to go. So in terms of, I guess, finances as a mom, and it's a very not expensive hobby. Once you sort of have a lot of your base supplies like the food coloring and the piping bags. The rest is all kitchen ingredients. So that part of it makes it quite enjoyable. Plus, something about like working with a cookie medium is so surprising to people. That also makes it a little bit more fun. Someone asks, have I ever thought about becoming a nail technician before? I have not. You know what? That's never even crossed my mind. I do work as a professional graphic designer. So I am quite busy on a regular basis. But this is sort of my tactile creative break from, working on a computer with more like technical. The graphic design I do is more technical. It's more food packaging. So there's a lot of legalities with, regards to font sizes and the way things have to be laid out for Canadian food laws and American food laws. So this is sort of my tactile, tiny detail. I feel like nail tech would translate really, really, really well though, with doing tiny little details on fingernails. But again, that's a whole different amount of supplies than I would need to get. Okay, so there's my piping and flooding detail. And I hope this is crusted over enough so that I can add a little bit of paint to it. And I'm just going to go for it. So the spider, I'm going to paint with some gold. You can see it close. This is my cookie from last year. I've coated it in epoxy resin so that it is preserved, and added some magnets on the back. So it's been on my fridge the last year, so looks pretty good still, considering it was at one point edible, doesn't rot or anything. So I'm going to paint the spider to look like this one with little golden legs and sort of this little shimmery marble body. And I'm going to use my Sweet Sticks palette. So this is the metallic rainbow palette from Sweet Sticks. It's water activated. You don't need alcohol to activate the colors. The colors are beautiful. I think this was, like, in terms of art supplies for cookie decorating, one of my larger, not investments, it's not that expensive, but purchases. And this palette was like $60, but I have literally had it for 4 years and like there's still colors left. It's so great. Highly recommend the Sweet Sticks edible paint brand if you're looking for metallics. As for just other regular paints that I use, non-metallic paints, I just use my regular Chef Master gel colors. They work really well just for painting with. I don't normally recommend other like specialty painting supplies for cookies. I just think it's not necessary. Unless there's like a particular product or circumstance in which you need it. I just like my regular food colors, sort of the most space saving, not having to buy like a million different types of paints. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of silver to his body. This is the silver color, and you just activate it with a bit of water. I'm just sort of applying it like kind of watercolor effect. Just sort of spotting it on. And also very carefully because this spider is like completely wet icing underneath. Again, normally I recommend letting your royal icing dry for several hours before painting it, but again, I'm trying to do this all just in the live stream time before my kids' nap ends. Maybe I'll add a little bit of metallic blue on the spider's body too. Oops. Okay, and for the gold, I was going to use my Genere Cakes Gold Dazzle Dust, but I realized I actually left it in my kitchen upstairs. I'm in my basement, so I won't use it. I'll use this one instead. This is the golden coin by the brand Do. I got it from Sugar Love Baking Supplies. It's very, very similar to the Genere Gold Dazzle Dust. And also totally 100% edible, FDA approved. I'll just add a bit of alcohol. Whoops, just dumped that in way too much. Empty some of that out. Okay. So very pretty gold. A little bit too much vodka in there. And someone asked, have I ever tried using a dry brush to create a streaky effect? I'm not sure what you mean. I do love a dry brush effect. I have definitely done dry brushing on like some of my portrait cookies when I'm really going for like a gradient. Or do you mean like specifically a dry brush in the gold? Okay, so there's some gold. Just get some of the excess liquid off my paintbrush. And I'm just gonna add like some little golden sort of lines sort of on his little spider body right now. Like what is it called? The veins in marbling. That's what I'm going for. His little teeth can be gold here. Okay, and I think the legs I'll basically do like mostly gold. And then once I'm done this, I'm gonna do some more black outline details like how I did around the spiderweb snowflake. And if you've just joined, you're just tuning in, this is the Ukrainian Christmas spider from Ukrainian Christmas Folklore. So the Ukrainian Christmas spider is a tinsel, like a Christmas tinsel that you would see on your tree. Christmas Tinsel Origin Story. So the story goes that a poor widow and her children lived in a hut and were excited at the prospect of having a Christmas tree for the first time when a pine cone rooted on their earthen floor. However, Christmas approached and they couldn't afford to decorate their Christmas tree, and the children went to bed sobbing that Christmas Eve. Spiders who lived in their hut heard them cry and spent the whole night, I guess the whole, middle of the night, Christmas morning, spinning elaborate webs all over their Christmas tree. And so when the children woke up on Christmas morning and the sunlight hit their Christmas tree, all the webs were like illuminated like silver and gold tinsel, much to the children's delight. So in the Ukraine, it is a sign of good luck to find a spider in your Christmas tree, a spider or a spider web in your Christmas tree. And you can actually find like Christmas tree ornaments that are in the shape of spider webs with little beaded silver and gold spiders all over them. I grew up with a Christmas tree ornament on our tree that was like a little wire spider web that was like very glittery silver and gold with a beaded spider. It was like a beaded sort of mirror silvery spider that sat in the middle of it, and I always just thought it was a really pretty like spider web ornament. I never realized it actually had like a background sort of rooted in Ukrainian folklore. So I love that. This is one of my favorite stories. So So now I'm just gonna let that gold dry a bit, and then I'm gonna add these similar little black outlines to make him pop. Maybe I'll add a little bit of silver detail to some of the little like spires on the snowflake as well while I'm waiting. So I'm just using the same silver from my Sweet Sticks palette. Okay, so I think the painting of this is done. Maybe I'll do a little dusting of edible glitter. I'm just going to use my Fancy Sprinkles fine edible glitter. This is totally FDA approved. It's really pretty. I'm just going to give it a little sort of sprinkling over top. All right, so there it is with a little bit of sparkle added. I think some of that gold paint is dry now, so I'm going to add those final little piped details. So I'm going to outline the spider's body, legs, and head. Oops, got a kink in my icing here. Make sure that's coming out smoothly. There we go. got a little sugar clog or something at the nozzle of this, the tip of this. There we go. All right, there we go. It's done. So there's my Ukrainian Christmas spider cookie. Maybe I should, like, I don't know, add some little dots for what would be the eyes. Is that really creepy? I kind of think it's fun. There we go. Okay, so there's our Ukrainian Christmas spider cookie. So I've recorded this live stream and I'm going to save it to my Instagram feed so you can reference it if you need. This is what the cookie cutter looks like. This comes with a cutter, comes with a stamp to create the impression in the dough. And then that's how it looks when it's finished being decorated. So now I'm going to let this dry fully, and I'll be back maybe on Monday to decorate my next cookie, which I think I will do the Yule Cat from Iceland. So this is what the Yule Cat cookie looks like with the stamped impressions. And then I'll tell you guys the story of the Yule Cat when I decorate that cookie. But yeah, the cutters and stamps for these lesser known European characters are all available in my online shop. And that's why I was doing these recorded live streams. So that if you do buy them, a lot of people have been buying these ones this year. So if you do get these or the STL files for them, you have a video to follow along with if you want to decorate them. Yeah, and the other day we did La Befana from Italy. So that's how this one turned out, the Christmas Witch from Italy. Yeah, and that's also on my feed now. So it'll be there forever. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.